Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on your lunch hour today. We hope that you've already heard exciting things about the Christopher Kelley Leadership Development Program, and we're happy to share our experience as well as answer any questions you might have about the application process or the program in general. And sorry, embarrassing question, Zoom. Are you seeing the presentation screen or read the presenter screen?
Presentation, we're good.
Great, thank you, Kristen. So Christopher Kelley was a professional architect in Washington, D.C., who died unexpectedly at a young age in May 2012. He was a respected leader within the AIA locally, as well as in Gensler's Washington, D.C. office. He was a very active volunteer and participated and contributed with lots of initiatives and programs and had a positive impact on the emerging professionals in that community. He was presented with the Young Architects Award in 2010. A quote from the jury for that was, "Christopher has proven himself a young leader within and around the AIA, a real example for other young professionals." His friends and other colleagues put together this program as a way to memorialize him and spread the intent of professional development throughout. So it started out in Washington, D.C., and we are now up to 10 chapters, and this will be the 11th year. So a little bit about your committee. Out of the class of 16 scholars, the committee is self-selecting for the most part from year to year. So we will have a chair, a past chair, and a vice chair who will be the chair the following year, as well as a communications advisor and a scholarship advisor. My name is Sarah Rolf-Vondenbauman. I'm a project architect at Perkins & Will, and I will be the chair for the class of 2023. I'm an alumni of the CKLDP class that was all virtual in 2021. So I was excited to stay on through the program last year and get to meet everybody in person and see the program at its best. Morgan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Morgan. I am vice chair for this coming year. I just finished the Christopher Kelley program this past year, and it was for the most part in person. I really enjoyed it. I work at EYP as an academic planner, and I've got about 8 years of experience in architecture, and I'm licensed.
I think we have Laura on. Laura is our past chair. She was our chair for the class of 2022.
Hi, everyone. I was in the program from 2019 to 2020. So we did all in person, and then we did, I think, 3 sessions virtually after, the pandemic started. And then, of course, I was the vice chair the virtual year that Sarah was in the program. And last year I was the chair. And now I'm your past chair. I went to the University of Houston, graduated in architecture. I have my license and I have 9 years experience. Currently, I am independent. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Laura. And then we have our communications advisor and our sponsorship advisor. Kristen, would you like to take a minute?
Sure. So yeah, my name is Kristen McDaniel-Grotti. I'm with Perkins & Will as an architect too. So recently licensed as of a few months ago, which is great. I have roughly 4 years of experience. Thanks, Morgan and Laura. 4 years of experience, and I grew up in New Orleans area, went to undergrad in Nashville at Vanderbilt, and then back to New Orleans for Tulane University for my master's in architecture, and now live in Houston. So again, recent graduate of the program and loved it so much that I wanted to stay on another year. So happy to serve as the communications advisor.
Thank you, Kristen. And then finally, we have Sarah Harpole, our sponsorship advisor.
Hey, y'all. I'm the second Sarah on our committee. I'm a project architect at Brave Architecture. I went to the University of Texas at Austin, graduated 3 years ago this May, and completed the CKLDP program this past year.
Great. Thank you. If we were all in person, it would be great if we could go around the room and introduce ourselves. If anyone is feeling brave, if you'd like to turn on your camera and say hello, go for it. I'll give you 3 seconds and keep going.
Assuming people probably have faces full of food, hopefully.
Yes, it is lunchtime. That is true. Okay. So as we said earlier, we have spread into 10 different chapters across America. We have the original chapter course in DC. There's one in Denver, Detroit, Indiana, Miami, Houston, and we are currently, this is the 5th class that we're planning for. So that's really exciting. Georgia, Albuquerque, St. Louis, and then Puerto Rico is having its inaugural year this year. So it's exciting. This is some kind of dated information, but just kind of as a bit of a background as to who has historically been a part of the Christopher Kelley Leadership Development Program. We're looking at a fairly even split of 55% women to 45% men, with the firm size ranging, of course, from 1 to 10 all the way up to 300. And then you can kind of see here a breakdown of some of the credentials that previous scholars in the DC area as of 2016 has had. So if anyone's excited about this kind of information, love a little bit of an update. So the mission of CKLDP is to train and nurture the next generation of leaders. So we went through a little bit of this earlier. AIAH Houston is, of course, the 6th location with the first class in 2018. So we had 2 full classes pre-COVID and then a COVID year, and now this will be our 2nd year post-COVID. We will be, unless things change dramatically, we will be in person in the fall. So we were wearing masks last year. I don't know that that's an issue anymore, but of course, if you're interested in applying and you have an issue with anything personally, like just reach out. We can always talk through specifics. So eligibility for the scholars, you should be a licensed architect within 10 years of your first licensure, or an unlicensed applicant who is pursuing licensure, or a member of an allied industry within the first 10 years of your career. This, like, if you have any questions about this, let us know. The wording is a little strange, but basically, if you're considered an emerging professional, you can apply. We ask that everybody be a resident of the Houston, Texas area, or at least be able to be in person once a month. It's not, we don't have like an Austin or a Dallas chapter, but you know, I'm sure if there's any strange or different situations, we can talk through options. An AIA membership is not required. The application materials. We can go to the AIA website at the end of the presentation and look and make sure you can find this, but registration is online. AIA has put together a great submittal platform for you to use. It's very easy to upload your letter of interest, letter of recommendation, personal resume, agreement form, and some open-ended essay questions. So to kind of go through these documents in a little bit more detail, your letter of interest should be written by you, and basically what do you have to offer to the CKLDP program, and what would you like to get out of it? And this is really going to help the committee to get to know you and why you want to be a part of the program. So make this personal and include information about yourself. Letters of recommendation. You need at least one with a maximum of 3. Make sure that these are from someone who can speak to your leadership potential, either past examples of that or someone who can kind of see your future, their crystal balls. Your personal resume, we encourage you to write this tailored to the program to really kind of focus on your leadership experience, not just a resume that you would use to apply for a job. And the best piece of advice that I got when I was applying for the program a couple years ago was make all of these documents tell a story. maybe, you know, when you're requesting your letter of recommendation, maybe you already have your letter of interest and your resume developed, and share that with the person that you're requesting your letter from, so that they kind of know what story you're telling about yourself, so that they can help support that. And to kind of get to that understanding, like I had such not a hard time, but like I spent a lot of time thinking about the answers to these open-ended questions at the bottom. Like as just kind of a start to the program, like you really kind of learn a lot about what these things mean to you, rather than just um, generically thinking about leadership. So Laura, Kristen, Morgan, Sarah, do y'all have anything to add to this?
Yeah, I would just say when I was personally making my application, I think your point was well taken of like just allowing your best qualities to show through in your personality. I know personally one of the things that I wanted to bring to the program, and part of why hopefully I'm serving as communications chair, is just I love doing graphics and graphic design and sketching. And so I absolutely showed that in my application. So yeah, like don't think that this needs to be a super stale application. You know, we're all sort of, most of us, I should say, are in the sort of the design profession. So it'd be great to have your personality show through, not just in words, but also in sort of the format that you apply in. So just a piece of advice for me.
I'll kind of add to that. I have a lot of interest and I was really excited about this program. And so I kind of looked through, when you're looking at the Christopher Kelley, there is a kind of rough schedule laid out of the various topics we're going to cover. And so I went through those and found the ones that spoke most easiest to me and my interest in who I am as an architect. And so those are what I chose to focus on, and to help give my recommenders, my people that I was asking for help with a recommendation letter, I kind of pre-sent them those, like, these are the topics I'll be focusing on, to get them a head start. And then I followed that up with my letter of interest so they could see the rough outline of where I was going with it, and they could speak to those specific topics of my interest, or like where I shown on those. And so that really helped them, because otherwise it can feel pretty broad and it's hard to focus. So you don't need to explain everything about yourself. Maybe pick a couple of those topics that are most interesting to you and write on those.
That's great advice. And then the next document that you'll need is the agreement form. That's something that maybe your direct manager or your office director should fill out and sign for you. Every scholar's firm is responsible for paying the tuition for their scholars. And so this agreement form is another form of that. Like, we will be meeting once a month on Friday afternoons. If your work schedule allows you to have that Friday afternoon off, that's great. Like, at Perkins and Will, we benefit from having half-day Fridays, but I know that's not everywhere. So it's just getting the buy-in from your manager that you will have that time available, because attendance is mandatory. And then if you come from a smaller firm where that tuition is going to be a financial hindrance, we do offer tuition assistance. And if you're interested in applying for that, you can download that form with your application. So the answers, the open-ended questions, there is a character limit or a word limit on these. So just kind of pay attention to that when you're drafting your response. It helps to kind of do that in a word counter online, and then copy and paste it into the form, because I don't think you can come back either. Like, I think once you start your application, you need to kind of finish it all in one go. So you wouldn't want to to get 3 of your questions in and then have to go attend to something else and you lose your progress. That would be very sad. So just pay attention to that character limit or word limit. Any questions about that? That's a lot of information, and all of this is available online. And you have our email addresses if you get into it and you have any questions, but there's a good one right now. Would be happy to answer it. Okay. So program commitment, as we were talking about, your firm is responsible for tuition and for the signing the agreement form. And then as a scholar, if you're accepted, attendance is mandatory. So we'll have boot camp and then 8 sessions that are designed by the scholars. And it is important for you to make it to, of course, your own session as well as the session of your fellow scholars. Oh, yes. Okay. The best part of the program is really, I mean, not the best, but one of the great parts about the program is getting to really build those connections and relationships with your fellow scholars and the committee and the people that you're bringing in to speak on the different topics. So that is, of course, better in person if we can do it in person, and we want everybody to be there as much as possible. There's your signed agreement form, and then one excused absence is allowed. Obviously, life happens. Like we get sick, we have family emergencies, we have other things that come up that we just can't do anything around. My suggestion to you would be if you're interested in applying and you go through the process, like the dates are available on our website. Go ahead and block those out on your calendar and make sure that you don't already have some conflicts in the future. The second absence will result in a $50 fine. A third absence will result in a $50 fine and expulsion. We've never had this happen. So we would prefer
Don't
that
be the first.
don't be the first. And then the boot camp final session and closing reception are mandatory.
I was going to just make a comment too about the firm commitment. You know, if I think a lot of firms should be familiar with the Christopher Kelley program, and if they're certainly not, like any of us are happy to come speak to your firm or like speak to someone or, you know, to explain what the program is and the value of it. Just let us know if that's something that you sort of need support on, because we would hate for that to be a reason for someone not to apply to this great program.
And your firm has so much to gain from your experience in it. You get exposed to so many new ideas, people in your community, and it's just like you can bring all of that energy and new ways of thinking back to your firm and your teams. So yes, if they have any questions, please, we will be happy to advocate for you. Oh no, formatting. So some important dates. Applications open on June the 10th, which is Friday. So you have 2 days. And they will be open until July 15th. Then the committee will go through the selection process, which will take 2 to 3 weeks, and we will let the first kind of scholar picks know that they're selected and make sure that they're able to commit to those dates into the program for 2022, 2023. And so we will announce the scholars and we will start boot camp on September 9th and continue. We will have monthly sessions. It's the first Friday afternoon of every month through May. So it follows the school year calendar, which is meant to be in spirit with the scholarly nature of it. And then, sorry, a little bit about the sessions. I'm sure you were able to see these on the website, and we will go into what each of these mean a little bit later on. So when you get your session, so you'll be paired with a partner and assigned a session. We'll get into how that process works at the end. But as a scholar, you are responsible for organizing one session, and it'll most likely be of your choice. We will ask for people to list their first, second, and third favorite. We've never had a situation where someone wasn't able to get in their top 2. I don't think so. There's a lot of exciting topics out there, and there's a lot of overlap generally between the different topics. So you don't get to, it's not too narrowed in that you can't kind of do what you want to do with your session. So as the scholar responsible for developing a session, you have to think about some very important things like the location. Are you going to have your speakers that are speaking to the topics come in and be in person. Like what materials are you going to need? Will it be just a speaking presentation, or will it be more hands-on? Do you need space to spread out for group activities? So size is important, as well as access to AV equipment, things like that. Access, like is parking available readily? People may get towed. Reach out to your contacts and know like which one of your product reps has a really great space, or maybe your office has a really great space to host a session. And then you get to pick a lunch. Fortunately, your tuition and the money that the committee raises pays for lunch and coffee for each session, but each scholar is responsible for fundraising for their speakers. If their venue has a fee, they'll be responsible for funding that. And then any sort of special supplies or giveaways, like you might want to, there might be a book that means a lot to you or to one of your speakers that you would like to buy for the rest of the scholars. All of that's kind of fundraised by the planning team for that session.
Sarah, I do want to jump in because I know when I first heard this, I was very overwhelmed by the amount of stuff it sounded like we needed to do and we were in charge of. Having just done this because my session with actually Sarah was near the end. It sounds so much more than it is when you're going through the process. This program goes over 9 or 10 months. 1 month out of that entire time, you're doing a little bit more of the planning, and you do have a partner. So if there's something like I was scared about how to raise money because I felt like I didn't have those connections, my partner had it. If my partner hadn't had it, this group that you see on the call would have had it. Like there's the support there. So if you're looking at this and you're going, oh, I don't know, I feel like this might be too much, you have the time, you have the support, you have the people to back you up, and you do know more people than you realize that can help come in and help you with these things and speak and all that kind of stuff. So as you hear all of this, just keep in mind there's a whole pile of support behind you.
Thank you. It's a really good point, Morgan. Yeah, and we'll have like planning calls, so you're not just kind of thrown to the wolves. Like before we even get into the first session, I think it's like 3 weeks out, we'll kind of review what your educational points are and kind of like who you're thinking about bringing in and what kind of different sessions you're doing. Like, is it going to be a panel or interactive or a site tour or something like that? And the committee will be able to offer advice based on past experiences, like has that been successful? Or have we done something exactly like that before? So it's there's also a really great resource if you want to check it out even before you apply. All of the chapters, or most of the chapters, have their own sort of WordPress websites where they document each session with photographs and then sort of a description of what happened, like who came in and spoke, or what activities were done, which is just a great kind of way to get familiar with what's possible. It's a lot of fun. And then hopefully like you've chosen a topic that you're very interested in. So like the goal isn't to choose something that you're already an expert. Like you get to learn so much in the process of researching how to put your session together for the rest of the scholars. So that was my favorite part, in getting to know my partner quite a bit over the planning sessions. And then the type of speakers that you can bring in. We all know a lot of architects. It's always a lot of fun to learn from people who maybe are in adjacent fields, though, who maybe have figured out some things that we're not experts in yet when it comes to leadership in the workplace. And then since we have adapted to being in a virtual or hybrid world, you can always bring in local people. They're usually very happy to do it for free. They're usually very happy to participate. Like people love this program. Like you tell them about it and they're eager to be a part of it. You can invite people in regionally outside of the Houston area, and we've even we had a session last year where we brought in people from AIAH National. I mean, we had to pay for their flights and all of that, but it's nice to get that exposure. So So if there's no questions about kind of what goes into planning a session, we're going to run through the 9 of them and kind of talk in a little bit more detail about what they entail. So of course, the first one we have will be boot camp. This is organized by the committee, and it's an exciting time where you'll get to meet the rest of your scholars, learn more about how the program functions. Like this isn't meant to be, this is not your only introduction. Like we'll talk about this at length at boot camp. And then we'll brainstorm what this particular class of scholars is excited about learning in each session. So you see a picture here of a brainstorm session at the AIA ARC downtown, where we were making a list of everything that a session might mean. So session number 1 is working together. Historically, this has come with a DISC assessment to kind of let everybody get to know each other a little bit, kind of start to think about the way that they communicate and work with others at the beginning of the year. But that's not mandatory. If this is a topic that you're very interested in, like sky's the limit. It's always some of the things that you might talk about at working together is communication and team building concepts, the role of architects relative to other project stakeholders, organizational problem solving, including alternative methodologies like Six Sigma and PMP, understanding your own leadership skills and how they relate to the rest of your team. So, very exciting one. The second session is entrepreneurship and business management. You're not limited to, but some potential topics could be ethics and law, from contracts and codes to professional ethics and standards of behavior, negotiating a contract, contractual pitfalls, and stakeholder relations. The third one is very similar. It's the art of negotiation and closing the deal. So it's, as you'll kind of see, like through these, the sessions kind of look at the profession through different lenses, between maybe sort of like professional development and professional self-awareness of who you are in your team, to business management, to community engagement. So you'll see lost the word, sort of groupings. Oh, thanks, Kristen. What were you going to say?
Variety?
Sure. So the art of negotiation, you might think about office and firm management, ownership and transition, financial and succession planning, business and project management standards. And then you might learn a little bit about appropriate use of social media, networking, and then business and professional communications. Community engagement. This one, some topics might be community involvement, the business practice of public interest design, social responsibility of architects as community leaders. So like how to get more involved with philanthropic work and board involvement, and understanding how politics and advocacy affect the profession. And this is a completely new session for this year. It used to be combined with community engagement, but we felt like both of those needed their own space. So for this year, we're thinking that some topics might include: what is the difference between equity, diversity, inclusion? What value does EDI bring to architectural practice? And how do you embed EDI into your practice? Trending now, since industry trends and technology within the practice evolve so quickly over time, this one's, you get to define it. Some things that you could talk about include sustainability efforts as they relate to the environment, economy, social ethics, and resiliency, the use of technology within the practice, and learning by doing through the use of fabrication. So really kind of runs the gambit. And if you have an idea for this, like, I'm sure it's a great one. I think last year we heard from NASA's first space architect. We did a virtual reality or augmented reality tour of a building to find construction mistakes. So you can see everybody staring at their phone, which was intentional, not because it was not going well. And it was at the Arboretum. So it was a really wonderful kind of comparison between high tech and low tech nature. Next is expanding the definition of practice. So as the industry changes, we can always look at an uptick of research in our industry. You could research in standard care in the profession, education within the university, and the role of mentorship, keeping abreast with new ideas through the academic setting, alternative business models to a traditional firm, and providing a diverse, inclusive, and innovative practice. So you can kind of see that overlap happening across these, across the different sessions. Another point of the planning sessions that you'll have with the committee is to make sure that none of the sessions are aligning too closely so that we get different learning objectives at each one. Morgan or Sarah, did y'all want to talk about this one?
This was ours. I just want to say once again, it really is like what you want to make it. I just really want to emphasize that it's great. At the very first session you brainstorm, you saw those. And so you get a little bit of guidance on what direction the group would like to see it go in, but then it's really down to you and kind of where your strengths are and where your interests lie. And so Sarah and I sat down and had a lot of conversations on, you know, who would we love to bring in? Who would we love to hear from? And so that was really great because some people we reached out to that we just didn't know. And we just were like, we'd love to talk to you. We haven't gotten to talk to you before. And so it was a great opportunity to kind of create that space for ourselves as well as our peers to do that.
And it let us connect with some really powerful professionals. We're talking Rice professors of architecture who have won distinguished practitioner awards. We're talking people who have been architects for a very long time who then now direct projects for the Texas Medical Center. We're talking city planners who are very influential in the way that our world is being shaped and developers across every type of project. So people are really passionate about this program and it lets you connect with new people because of that.
Thank you. And then we'll wrap up the end of the year with a future of you in your career session, and then end with a closing ceremony. So this last session could address leader effectiveness, career and personal development, like work-life balance and kind of self-assessment of where you are in your career, the role of mentorship with recent graduates and recently licensed architects, developing your own career path through reflection on your experience at CKLDP, and then major disruptors in the tech and construction world. And then we celebrate. Here's some pictures from last year. It's like a month ago. Okay, so this might get in the weeds a little bit, but you might be very curious about what session you'd be responsible for planning. So just to kind of give you a brief overview, it's a very democratic process. Once you're selected, you'll be asked to define which 3 in order are your favorite. So we will, as a committee, take that information and use a much less beautiful spreadsheet to figure out which what's the best way to pair the different scholars with the different session topics. So you can see some might not have as strong of representation. And so the people who had interest in this one might not get their first topic just based on making sure that everyone gets something that they're at least a little bit interested in. Or, I mean, 3 out of 8 is pretty good. Anyway, so that's kind of how that works. So we have a little bit of I guess, FAQs, and then at the end, please have your questions ready to go. So do you have to be licensed? No. Unlicensed professionals who are pursuing licensure are eligible. Do you have to be an AIA member? No. Professionals who are not AIA members are also eligible, but there is a slight tuition differential if you're not an AIA. And of course, if you're an associate AIA, that's that counts as AIA. Do I have to be an architect? No, we like to have a diverse group. Like it's nice to hear the perspectives from others in our allied trades. I don't know that we've had any engineers join. We did have a contractor last year, and we always enjoyed his different viewpoint. So anyway, if you are of an allied profession on this call, we really hope that you'll apply. And if you know somebody who you think would be a good fit, like please recommend them to apply. What should I put on my application? So the most important aspect is that it highlights your personal traits and your relationship to the profession. So we really want to get to know everybody personally. It's not like a buzzword search or like a CEO search. Like we read all of the letters and we look at all the resumes, and we're interested in getting a diverse cut through, like, you know, small firms to large firms, or are you from Texas? Are you from another country? Like we're excited to have a very good conversation, and that requires differing viewpoints and backgrounds. So don't try to fit a mold, like as Morgan said. How much is tuition? So your firm will be responsible for your tuition, and it's $445 if you're a member of AIA, and $535 if you're not AIA. We talked a little bit about the tuition assistance form. If you apply and are qualified, would reduce the firm's commitment to $200. So that's a nice cut. And we expect that you'll get 40 CEUs. Not all of them will be health, safety, and welfare, but it will help get you to your learning unit goal for AIA. So tuition assistance is available for the AIA members who are employed at a firm with 10 or less employees. So thanks. Are there any other questions? Let's kind of check the chat, see.
Laura, do you just want to emphasize what that it's a preview that they're seeing on the website right now, and then if you check back on June 10th when it's open, you're going to see the actual application show up. And if I remember correctly, you can like start filling in the application as you have things and save it as a draft and come back, and like when you're ready to submit, you hit submit. I think it even is like nice enough to be like, are you sure? Like, do you want to verify anything?
Yes, the submission is through Submittable, similar to like the AIA Design Awards. So if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, you'll be able to kind of start your application, save it for later. Yeah, on the website, it is just a preview of the application materials, but they are the same. So all the questions are the same. You know, all the required forms and stuff are the same. It's just you're going to be filling out the official one through the AIA website on Submittable. And of course, you can email any of us on the committee and if you have any questions, and we can respond. So you could get started now on your application if you wanted to in like a Word document, and then once the Submittable application opens up, just kind of copy and paste.
And a last piece of advice, if you haven't had to do letters of recommendation in a while, which I hadn't when I had done this, I think the safe bet is giving someone 3 weeks to create and craft it. At a minimum 2 weeks, I think, is the shortest, unless you're just like diehard best friends. You like know them incredibly well and know they can have a week's worth of time to knock something out.
Hopefully everyone here heard something that was sparked their interest and they're excited about applying. It looks like a lot of work, but it's really worth it. And I know I enjoyed my year. It was great meeting the fellow scholars and learning new things. But like last year, being in person, it was the highlight of my month most of the time. Like I loved every session, and getting to know all of the scholars. I'm so excited. We have a full committee this year. So it's just a great way to be connected with your community. But
Plus, we do some pretty good happy hours after each session, which always helps for mood.
it's a good point. We didn't even talk about the happy hours. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, each scholar should kind of pick a place close to their where their session is hosted to have a happy hour. And it doesn't have to be alcohol. It could be, I think we had an ice cream spot one time. It's really flexible and up to the planners.
Hi, I have a quick question regarding the recommendation letters. This is DJ here from Kensler. For the recommendation letters, are they mailed directly to some portal, or is it a PDF that we just directly upload, or is it just a Word file that we are copy pasting into a text box?
Good question. It's a PDF that you can upload. So there's
Okay.
no secrecy from you. Like you definitely have the opportunity to read and honestly, we encourage you to select, like if you want to ask somebody for a recommendation letter, but you're not confident that they know your work and kind of like your goals the best, like feel free not to use it.
Okay.
You really want to tell the best story about yourself. And maybe someone's not able to provide that for you, but you don't want to be rude. So
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.
And they don't need to be from your firm. I know we had questions last year about people had like just joined a firm and didn't know a lot of the people there. It doesn't need to directly relate to that. It can be from people you've worked with. It can be from consultants, contractors, past employers, you name it. It's just someone that can speak to who you are and your interests.
Okay. Thank you.
okay, well, we look forward to seeing all of your applications ready to go on Friday. No, we won't actually see them until it closes on the 15th. So there's no preference to to order of receival or anything like that. But okay.
Y'all have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.